Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outpost, a podcast about inspired thinking. I'm feeling inspired today. As always, Tom's dejected, Mark's shimmying, Krista sitting in your shame.
Yes.
Yeah. Mark, how are you today? 0 to 10. 0 the worst, 10 the best.
I'm choosing a solid 8.
Okay. If you could be a color, what color would you be?
I would be the color of enthusiasm.
That's not
Does that
answering
work?
the question.
No.
Not at all.
No, it wasn't.
It was
What
like
color?
a
Butterscotch.
color. Okay, perfect.
It's also a food. That's why you like it?
Well, worked. It worked. It's better than the color of enthusiasm, which is not an answer.
And
It's
it
an
was a good
answer.
name for a horse.
Love on me in the comments, please.
Enthusiasm could be the name of a horse.
I was thinking butterscotch.
Oh, butterscotch.
I'm
gonna
gonna ride
be
my enthusiasm
A
today.
heck of an episode.
Krista, please save us. What's a community question?
All right.
What is a community question? And why is a community question?
And where?
Okay. Christina asks, in what ways...
Christina.
Very apt. Christina asks, in what ways do you sabotage our own creative potential?
In what ways do we
Actively
sabotage
happening.
our own creative potential?
Starts from the beginning, limiting beliefs, right? We've got these conflicting things happening inside us where we have these goals. When I say we, I think I'm talking about the royal we inside myself. I've got these goals, these big goals, but there are conflicting things inside me because even though I want those things, there are parts of me that thinks I don't deserve those things, or that I'm not good enough for those things, or I'm not smart enough for those things. So that, I think, at least for me, is where the core of that self-sabotage comes from, is these conflicting beliefs that I am and sometimes am not aware that I even have, that keep me from thinking I even deserve to reach my creative potential.
Yeah, I would say that that royal we applies to me too.
Okay, good. In what ways do you sabotage your creative potential?
I think sort of in the modern environment, it's easy to fritter away our creativity on worthless frittery things. So like, I think engaging with other people, like expressing our creativity in like little micromanaging of our consumption of other people's creativity. So like Pinterest is a great example. Like, I'm organizing and making this space of all these different things that I like, and I now feel like slightly fulfilled that I've expressed myself by just collecting these images that represent me, but I haven't actually created anything. And I think when I was younger, I would do a lot of like, what were my favorite albums this year, or what were the 10 best movies this year, and I would put in all this thought into these like lists and like little micro expressions of myself that then like did just enough to make me feel like I'd expressed something that like I was able to just kind of keep plodding through life without like being desperately hungry to make something or do something in the world. But it was kind of wasted. And so I think a lot of the engagement we have on social media and with blogs and with things of that nature make it easy for us to waste our creativity on just like little tiny expressions.
Flitter or
Fritter.
fritter around?
Yeah.
Okay, frittering around. I think that applies to me too. I think I fritter away a lot of my creativity.
Like apple fritter. I think for me, I allow the fires of urgency to get in the way of doing what's important. And, even at this point, I have to get up early before I can be bothered by anybody else's emails or calls or whatever, and work early at a cafe or at my computer or whatever to get the important creative work done in the morning. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you just spend all your day solving everybody else's problems and responding to their urgencies. And I think that will absolutely sabotage what you're really trying to do that's important, and it'll put you behind forever. And so that's probably my biggest battle. And then even with that being true, I'll stay up too late, and then I can't get up too early because then I feel tired, and or I don't watch my diet, and like all those things can sabotage what you're trying to do. You need to plan for and execute what you're doing creatively, and you have to treat it like it's important. And if it's not important, then you will not get it done and you will not be happy with it.
Yeah, I certainly. Sorry. I don't need to re-say what he just said. What do you got?
I view Krista as somebody who maybe doesn't sabotage herself. Am I wrong?
Really?
Yeah. Am I wrong?
It's my constant pursuit.
Really?
Sabotage, My Constant Pursuit by Krista.
No, I feel like I very much relate to what you're saying. I think that for myself, I have like a kind of a great sense of responsibility towards others, towards, all these other people, external things that I feel like I should, or that this is more important. And I think a lot of times that I let that take precedence over myself, and that kind of whatever that is, that personal aspect is, that is kind of a spark for creativity.
What was the name of the person that asked this question?
Let me see.
I've got to start storing that data a little bit better for me.
Christina.
So I wonder if, Christina asking this question is kind of viewing herself as somebody who is sabotaging her own creativity sometimes. And one of the things that I think helps me the most, my counselor, every time I'm kind of complaining about this kind of activity in myself, she's like, well, maybe we don't have to be so hard on ourselves. So even when we do sabotage our own creativity, it's usually, we're not doing it on purpose to be bad to ourselves. We're not trying to hurt ourselves or punish ourselves. It's just coming from a place of habit, a place from, it's an accident, it's a habit, And so sometimes being easy on ourselves about even the bad behaviors that we have are the way that we can soften enough to move ourselves out of those behaviors. When we come down on ourselves hard about the behaviors that are not as great for our goals, it makes it even harder to move through them. So making sure that we stay soft with ourselves, even with some of the things that we do that we don't like that we do.
It's a constant improvement cycle. Yeah.
But with a kind improvement coordinator in your own head.
And I think a lot of times we don't realize like what a profound pursuit creativity is, and that there is danger and there is unknown there. And so those kind of self-protective things make sense. And I think that goes along with what you were saying about being gentle about ourselves.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What she said.
Exactly.
It was so profound. I was just dumbstruck there for a second.
I'm just excited for Justin to edit. She says something, and then we both just sort of like stare.
I was looking at your face, and I was trying to decide if you were going for another quote in one of the drawers of your mind, or.
I mean, but
you're
why
satisfied.
try to compete with what she's doing?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I to Mark's end, I think that not prioritizing creativity is a very easy way to sabotage it. Waiting it for it to just magically fit into the cracks of your life, it probably won't, because we have fewer and fewer and fewer available cracks. And so I think mindfully prioritizing when we're going to be creative, and then like you're saying, like maybe taking some of the pressure off of it and just letting the early stages of being creative exist for themselves, and not necessarily putting too much pressure on them an outcome or an end goal or anything.
Oh, yeah, that's
like
right.
If you are having a hard time just getting started, worrying too much about the end is a little cart before horse. Like, just get yourself into a life rhythm where creativity is happening, and then start trying to structure it into a direction.
I grew up on a steady diet of all work before play, and that creativity was a fun thing. Oh, you do something creative. That's amazing. That's super fun. I'm so happy for you. Like it's a frivolous thing. And what I've found is, to my point earlier, you have to fight to actually do the significant work that you want to do as a discipline. My favorite word, one of my favorite words. Or you become a slave to your own mindset. And I think that really does hold me back, the way that we frame things. And your mood can do it, like you can wake up in the wrong mood, and that can throw you way off. And it's a constant balancing act. I feel like I'm on the high wire a lot.
One thing I've been doing, this is not a direct answer to the question, but something I've been doing a lot lately that has been really helpful to like unsabotage myself is, I'll sit down in the morning, and this is my like hour-long window to work on strictly creative stuff. My computer is closed. I'm not plugged in any way. And I'll sit down, and like I have done the discipline, the work of like I have made this space and this time, and I'm going to do it, but my mind isn't there. My mind is in all these other places. And I have been doing this like 15-minute meditation thing. It's like a guided thing on an app or whatever, where someone talks to you over the music and stuff, and that has been so unbelievably productive for me. Like I will sit down and I will turn the thing on, and for the first 7 minutes I'm just like, this isn't working. I'm still all over the place. This person's talking into my ear in their soothing accent, but I'm still thinking about 40 other things that have to be handled, or I'm thinking about how I'm not doing a good job meditating. I'm not doing a good job letting things go so I can, be in my Zen space for creating. But then, when that 15 minutes is over, like I realize like, oh, the last like 2 minutes there, I really disconnected. And then all of a sudden, like the room feels different. My head feels different. Like I can crack my neck 30 times on each side. I didn't realize I was so tense. And like all of a sudden, like I am in a completely different space for the next hour. And like just doing that every morning has been helping me not sabotage myself with my brain. I've been unsabotaging myself just by choosing to force it to chill. That's been really productive for me.
It's like that discipline that Mark's talking about. It's not like every time you show up to the coffee shop, you're ripe and ready to create, but you look back after a month and you're able to say, oh, wow, in that last 2 minutes, I really changed everything, didn't it?
Yeah, most writers will talk about how, they don't have necessarily a word count for the day. They just have a time in the chair count for the day. Like, I will sit in this chair for 4 hours. And sometimes I sit there for 4 hours and do literally nothing. But the discipline of being there for 4 hours every day, eventually something happens and then they're off to the races. But if they don't do that and they like wait for inspiration to strike or whatever, like it rarely happens and things fall apart.
We'll fill up the cracks of time with frittering.
The last observation I have is that one of the things that sabotages my creativity is seeing how much of it is crap. Like going through the process of doing stuff that doesn't work, sketching for days or weeks on things that just don't pan out can be the thing that sets you back. And that's why I think the discipline is so valuable for me, is because if you can push through that trench and come out on the other side, what you find is you've learned from all of those things that didn't work, and those have contributed and informed the thing that does work. And that is really satisfying.
So you crawl through the trench of your own crap and you come out the other side.
I'm having Shawshank flashbacks, yeah.
Ever since you talked earlier about how many available cracks you have, like I just can't stop like thinking next week at the Outpost podcast, we're exploring your available cracks. Like that's all I can think about. And I had to do it out loud or else something inside me was going to happen. So
editing.
I'm already enjoying Justin's short, like out of context clips from this. This is very